right, let's do this.
Let's go, mate. We've been planning this for a long time.
Namaste, and welcome to another episode of the Vichar Manthan podcast, an exploratory platform through in-depth interviews with some of the best thinkers of our times. Podcast's aim is to explore how we can better understand Dharma, our lives, and the recapture of ancient and classical ideals of sustainability, liberty, and flourishing. I'd like you to tune in for an earnest conversation. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and your favorite streaming platform. We have just recently had the Vichar Manthan Sustainable Narratives Conference, and what an exciting time it was to listen to the most prevalent ideas, the ideas that need investment. If you haven't tuned into that, please do tune back, have a look at our YouTube, have a look at the vicharmanthan.org website. Today, I'm very excited to introduce to you Anand Parekh, who is the founder of Hot Yoga Nottingham, based in Nottingham. Hot Yoga Nottingham?
Yeah.
I've known Anand for quite some time. We've grown up around similar ages, and I really admire what he's done and how invested he is in yoga and how it's taken him to achieve some of the success he has. And I think we'll talk about the tribulations of that way and why a journey like that is so important. So, Anand, welcome to the podcast.
Namaste, Smoothie. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great feeling to be here and to share my experience of the yoga side and life as well.
Awesome. Great to hear. So take us back to the beginning. Take us back to what you did at uni and kind of how you've ended up where you are now.
Wow. So I'll say I'd go back even earlier than that. So
sure.
I'll go back to, upbringing. So being part of an extended family, the morals, the values that you're brought up with, the experiences that you're going through, seeing things, being part of British life, but then also an Indian culture at home, and you're trying to understand life in a way. So seeing parents doing puja, doing arti, doing navratri, and chanting at home, doing mantra, it really starts to make you think how you want to come across in life.
Sure.
And then you're going through schooling system and then going through to university. So it was a journey to, ultimately understand myself and find the path that I want to go through.
It's so interesting you say that. We're so informed by our parents and the morals and values that they've brought us up with. Definitely in my own career, like having this ability to sort of teach or want to pass on educational wisdom. I used to work at a tuition center. I'm constantly coaching professional and personally.
Yeah.
And my mum's a teacher.
Wow.
Right? So it comes from the source. So
Yeah.
like the stuff you're talking about there, mantras and the pujas, growing up, the prayers, we had that too. And I think it has greatly informed my prospect on life, how to be positive, how to want to achieve. And it's not even just like positive, it's like moral, civil, ethics.
Yeah, and you just want to try and find the things that work for you and that inform you to really lead a great life ultimately.
Awesome. No, that's awesome to hear. Okay, so go on, tell me more. What's next?
So from university side, we I was really focusing on work, so corporate life, but then also the yoga aspect of trying to find a path which works for me. So I was speaking to or attending classes at the Hindu Mandir, and then also going through to Shaka. So Shaka is an organization where young people coming together, and really enjoyed the physical aspect of the yoga practice itself. And moving forward a little bit further, I noticed one day came downstairs and I seen my mom doing a yoga practice. And she was doing some breath work, and I was like, "Mom, what's going on? What's this?" And I was really intrigued by that. So took that a little bit further going forward and attended my first yoga teacher training course with Patanjali School of Yoga. And then from there, I was in Canada for a short period of time to attend a yoga course. And then moving forward.
So yoga was really important to you just from seeing that time and going forward.
Yeah, from a younger age, just seeing different people talking about it, practicing it, and then having that intrigue to try and understand it and learn it for myself. And then when I started to apply that practice, in my own life and going to university, going through to different community centers and teaching that to people, it felt really empowering for myself, but also it was a way for me to give back. So, having a corporate career, but then also spending time to support the local community felt fantastic. And then going forward, I had the idea, how can I give back even more? Instead of teaching in for example, a cold hall, how can I take in the values or take in the experience of going to India and the heat element there, but then also the culture from India? How can I bring that element back into the UK? And it came up with the concept of opening a hot yoga studio.
Okay, let's do that. Let's get into that a little bit later, but I want to know more about yoga itself. So this is a hot topic. It's a buzzword, I think, especially here in the West. And you see all types of yoga studios and yoga things coming about. So let's just reel it all in, right? Can we define our terms? What is yoga? Let's start there.
So yoga is ultimately to unify the mind, the body, and the soul. So it's the connection. And for myself, I feel when my mind is calm, when my eyes are closed, when I'm practicing yoga, that is that time where I can really understand the true meaning of life. Just to strip all the other layers of material life away a little bit and just focus on your inner self. That's when you can find a little bit more peace, and that's where I feel the union between the mind, body, and the soul.
And that's what yoga actually means, right?
Yeah,
the union,
the yoking.
Yoking of mind and soul.
Yeah,
that's interesting. And
but I think sometimes it's different for everyone as well. I think for some people in the West, they say when I play football, that's their yoga, because it's the unity between the mind, the body.
When you're most at sort of oneness with yourself, perhaps.
Exactly.
When you're most aware of your being.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I like the analogy there. Someone's playing football, that's their yoga. And I think anything in your life that you are able to do in a flourishing manner and excel at, or where sometimes the energy just flows through you, you're just a vessel through which that
also awareness, but understanding life a little bit more. So I have an allotment in Nottingham, and I'm growing courgettes and plants by seed. So just the element of planting and then watching it grow over a period of time and sitting just in nature, that awareness, the time to reflect on life is a sense of yoga to me as well. So I'll say you can find it in different places.
Okay. So someone listening to this right now might be thinking, what are you talking about? Yoga is where you got to cat-cow, touch your toes, bend over backwards, all that kind of stuff. This conversation we're having right now is very far away from that. And I mean, you're the best person to speak to about this. What's the depth of yoga and how is it understood here in the West?
Wow. So yoga's thousands of years. It's an ancient practice coming from Bharat, coming from India itself. But in the West, they've taken a strand of the physical element of yoga. More, I would say. There are pockets of schools and pockets of thoughts where it can be on philosophy, but it should be more about the philosophy. It should be more about pranayama as well. And, the pranayama, the breath work practice itself, they say is more important than just the asana, just the physical practice.
For sure. So let's break down these 8, because you said about 8 steps, right?
There's
8 limbs to yoga.
8 limbs of yoga,
And the one that is the stretching, the body movements.
That's asana.
Asanas.
Yeah.
Put yourself into an asana.
Into a posture.
Yeah. Okay.
But the king posture is a seated posture. It's a sitting position.
Right.
But then in the West, we're going through things like a vinyasa flow or a dynamic flow over a class, where it can be seen as like a HIIT class, for example. But how then do you bring elements of Sanskrit into the class, which I believe for my practice is important? How do you bring mantra into the class? How do you make it more?
So are these the layers, the mantras and everything like that?
I'd say there are other strands that I think to become to
enhance
the experience of a yoga class itself.
Okay.
And a yoga teacher, you could say as well.
Asanas. What's the next limb?
So you got pranayam,
which is breath work.
Yeah.
And I see on Instagram these days this little thing you can buy, that you kind
I've seen
of
that.
put in your
I've
mouth,
seen
and you
that.
can
Yeah,
test your
yeah,
flow in your
yeah.
breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing, people are calling this, right? And I think this isn't new. This has been talked about. This has come from
like
10,000.
the Wim Hof method as well.
Okay,
the
yes,
ice bath. So
yes.
there's all these new concepts
But
coming
they're
up.
not new.
They're not new, but they're seen as being new.
Fine. There's a new shiny way of looking at it.
Exactly.
And this is called pranayam. Is it called? Is breathwork the right way to say that?
Yeah, prana is your vital force, your energy.
Your life
Yama
force.
is your life force, and yama is a control. So trying to merge those two together.
So to be able to control my life force, okay, cool.
So
and that's done through breathing.
Breathing. So yeah, exactly. So for example, school of thought again is if somebody has got panic breath, where they're panic attacks and they're panic breathing, or there's the elements of depression, anxiety, they're breathing from their chest, or they're breathing from their belly too much. So
or people that have a real short breath.
Short breath as well, yeah.
And what about people? You can hear people breathing sometimes, and they sound like they're struggling.
Yeah.
I actually think it's terrible to say.
Yeah.
I actually think,
but nobody knows any different.
Right.
Nobody knows any different. We're not taught how to breathe. Especially, I would say, we're not taught where to breathe. We might say just inhale, exhale.
But people don't know if it's nose or
mouth.
Or...
Yeah, there's that element. There's the element of where to breathe. Should you breathe chest? Should you breathe into your side ribs? Should you breathe into your back ribs? Should you breathe into the back ribs and side ribs? Should you breathe into your belly?
People right now listening, what do you mean breathing into your ribs, into your back?
Yeah.
I thought I just breathe into my lungs and back, you know?
And you unconsciously probably are, but then unconsciously, your blueprint has changed over time for you to then start breathing more into your belly.
If anyone listening to this on the Vicharamanthan podcast, if there's anything you can take away from this, I think we're only, I don't know how far into this, but if only you could breathe better, your life would be improved dramatically.
100%. And I've heard, someone like Jay Shetty talking about it recently as well, like teaching them how to breathe. But, one key tip I would say is try and focus on length in your spine.
Okay.
And then breathing up. So breathing up into your back ribs.
Okay.
The back of the lungs are bigger than the front. So you need to breathe and expand into the back of the lungs and back of the rib cage, because there's muscles in between the ribs, the intercostal muscles, and they can be quite tight. And we need to learn to expand with your inhales.
Okay, this is prana. So we didn't even really talk about asana, but prana, you're saying, is the most important, maybe.
I would say it's most important. Yeah.
You see it, right? You see Swami Ramdev Ji on India, and it's all about the prana.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Prana, next.
There's the yum and niyam.
Okay.
So you got the moral observances and the so the moral observances of yum and niyam, and then so it could be satya, there's non-harming. So it's incorporating those elements into your daily life and the way you live your life as well.
Okay, I can reason with that. Next.
Yeah. Then you got pratihar, dhan, dhyan, and samadhi.
Okay.
So we need to work our way through all of those to attain an element of self-realization. However, I would say in terms of society, again, the element is more just focused on the asana aspect as well.
Okay. So I appreciate that we will never have enough time to go through all of these in detail. I'm realizing we're only on number 4, right? Okay. Again, we've got to reel this back a little bit, right? Yoga is this 8-limb process. What are just the quick? Can we finish those off? So what's 5 without explaining it?
So yam, niyam, asanam, pranayam, pratyahar, dhyan, dharna, and samadhi.
Let's do dhyan.
Dhyan, yeah. So dhyan is the mind and the focusing of the mind.
People would call this meditation.
Yeah. So, and that's another new term that's come around. So that's another new way of thinking of it.
My understanding of dhyan, just the word, is your ability to focus your attention.
Yeah.
On something.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is.
So some people do this with Trataka meditation or Trataka dhyan. So this is where you could have a candle flame.
I've done this before.
And then you keep your eyes fixed
on the candle.
And they'll say, try not to blink. So you keep your eyes open and you're concentrating, your dhyan, your focus is on the candle flame. And that's an element of discipline in the mind and
Yes.
focus as
And
well.
and so discipline of what? Of other thoughts,
Of the thoughts, because you're
other things. You're letting
you're
your awareness go elsewhere.
so you're trying to minimize the fluctuations of the mind. So as the thoughts come through, you're still bringing the focus back onto that flame, back onto the.
And it's your
discipline.
ability, your self-discipline,
Inner
your
strength,
control and
yeah.
ability to focus on that.
Exactly.
In particular this flame.
Yeah.
But what about non-physical? What about something we can focus on mentally? Can we apply dhyan to that also?
Yeah, and I think we do that through other areas of life as well.
And are those rivets all the different thoughts we have all the time?
What do you mean?
You were saying that the mind fluctuations.
Yeah.
Are those fluctuations just constant thought? People will say they can't focus. They have I'm thinking about so many things. I've got to pick the kids up. I've got to do this, got to do that, got to go to work. Da, da, da.
But I think you've got to. We all go through that. We all go through that, right? But you've over time, you've got to try and find what works for you. You've got to try and find routine. Like some people have a to-do list, and they try to refine that and prioritize. So ultimately, I think dhyan does allow the mind to start focusing.
Okay.
And by having more routine in your life and having discipline in your life, that allows you to stop releasing other layers of thoughts that are not conducive to the way you want to live your life.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about asanas then. And this is what the West thinks yoga is, right?
Yeah.
Like I see it all over the place. You've got yoga classes in all the gyms and all the studios now.
But what's wrong in that? What?
Okay, good question. Good question, actually. Because I am aware that yoga has a lot of depth.
Yeah.
And it comes from an ancient time, an ancient art form, and it's multi-layered, multi-disciplined, allows you to experience it for yourself in a multitude of ways. And I think you were talking about like not just the asana, but the sound and the color. And it's such a multi-dimensional experience that allows you to get your unity and all the energy and powers that are, line them up and feel, right?
And I think that's cool. That's cool. There's so many layers to it. But one, I'd say asana is fantastic. Why? Because it allows you to understand your body.
Your physical form.
It's the physical form.
Fine.
And that's something I think we all relate to.
I'm on board with
we
you.
relate to breathwork and asana so much more than sometimes some of the others.
Are these yoga classes in all these leisure centers doing pranayama? No, come on.
Not really.
No.
Not really.
They're doing body work. They're doing body work. They're putting your body in different positions, which I agree with you. It's
unless you go to a
fantastic.
workshop. If you're going to a workshop where they've got more time, that's when they're spending more time.
Does your experience of yoga dilute when you are not aware of the depth of it, of those 8 limbs? If you think, I forget what you're thinking. If you're doing yoga, if you're doing asana work, Surya Namaskar, for example, or whichever one, are you experiencing yoga?
Yes, in a way you are, and it depends on the teacher, the person teaching you, because they will tell you when to inhale, when to exhale. They'll teach you how long to inhale for and how long to exhale for. When you're in a certain pose, they'll make you hold it for a certain period of time and then focus on your breath, bring that awareness. Your eyes might be focused on, for example, if you're doing a posture such as Virabhadrasana or Warrior 1, for example, your arms are extended out, you're gazing towards your left-hand thumbnail. So you're creating that dhyan, you're creating the focus, you're sinking down into the pose, you're building strength, you're thinking about energy. Some people close their eyes in the position, and that allows you to build that inner strength and inner wisdom as well.
I feel like I'm at the yoga class with you now, man. That's awesome.
But thinking about gym style yoga or community hall yoga, I think
it's baby steps.
It's baby steps, but it's still good. At least it's out there. At least there's support for people and it's the start of a journey. So even for myself, like I mentioned right at the very start, seeing my mum do pranayama, I was intrigued. Seeing and doing the physical aspect by going to different youth groups, I was intrigued, and I enjoyed the physical aspect. So I could say for myself, I started in the physical aspect of sun salutation, Surya Namaskar, and I felt this real connection with the sun as well. And I wanted to continue that practice. So I was continuing that practice on a daily basis. But then seeing my mum do the breath work, I linked those two together. And that was like, wow, that's still yoga. That's still yoga.
And
so it starts, I would say, for a lot of people in the West, it is starting on the physical aspect.
Sure.
And then it leads into the spiritual aspect.
Does it always? I'll come on to that.
Yeah, potentially.
Right. And you telling me your story there, right? I want to go into that in a bit more detail. What has yoga allowed you to do in your own experience of life? How has it benefited you?
Yeah, big question. So I would say, firstly, community of like-minded individuals that I've met over time. So growing up, I felt, being British Indian, I'm born in a society where you're still trying to fit in. And it gave me the opportunity so practicing more yoga and then opening the yoga studio gave me the opportunity to meet like-minded people from diverse backgrounds.
That's awesome.
And that was incredible because now we've built a friendship with so many new people. And then moving forward, I would say understanding about your health is your wealth. We still need wealth, but ultimately my health is my wealth. And that is, it's a slogan from Swami Ramdev from Patanjali Yoga Trust, who was the first teacher that I learned from. And gaining wisdom from different schools of thought. So again, Swami Vivekananda, where he says, arise, awake, do not stop until your goal is reached. So, taking those snippets of wisdom and then trying to bring them into my personal life, bring them into my business life, and enhance my overall meaning of life.
This is excellent. I thought you were going to talk about physically, being able to stretch mentally, but I think you're right. Maybe let's go there. But you've found meaning in life through yoga, and your experience of life has been enriched as a result.
Exactly.
Wow, that's incredible.
Because I feel I can take the time to understand why I'm doing something, and is it right or is it wrong? And is there a right or is there a wrong?
Fine. Yes.
We all grow up, we go through different life experiences, and we have to fall over sometimes to become better. And as life unfolds for all of us and the layers of life start to unfold, we have got this opportunity to try and really tap into the meaning of every opportunity. So meeting of like-minded people, potentially going on more life experiences, more traveling, and you're learning about different cultures, different foods. And I think I try to really take the time to understand all elements of that and bring it into myself. So whether that's from a business aspect, a personal or professional, I try to ultimately become the best version of myself. And just most recently, I was writing something down just in a laptop, and I thought, what? Every question was why. Okay, why do I do this? Why business? Why yoga? Why family? Why do I go to the allotment? And every question, I broke it down to why, and ultimately came down, for me, it was the soul. It was my inner guidance. It was something within me guiding me on my path. Whether sometimes you fall over, you have to pick yourself back up again. And I think, again, that's going to be different for probably everybody.
Sure.
But ultimately, I felt that's my atma, that's my soul, and it's guiding me to serve people. It's guiding me to serve humanity.
Amazing.
Absolutely. To make a difference. Just want to make a difference in the world.
And, someone may be thinking, I don't have the time to do that. But time is something you reprioritize depending on the value you see. And it sounds like for yourself, Anandji, and the way yoga has helped you and guided you, is you see your contributions as wider than yourself.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Not out of your family.
But you got to start somewhere. You got to start small steps. And just something, there's a lady at the allotment that I speak to on a regular basis. And so we got the allotment in the first year, and there's so many weeds on the land. So the first thing was clear the weeds.
Right.
And you're learning, you're like, wow, you got to move, think about your posture in that sense as well. And then the second year, fantastic, I had flowers and we're growing some nice things. And then the third year came, and one thing she said to me is, Anand, you've got to come little and often. And those few words meant so much to me, because I realized there's no point me coming just once every 3 months and going crazy on the ground and pulling all the weeds up. because if I do that every 3 months, they're just going to keep coming back up. But then I apply
You're
that same. You're
not even in maintenance.
You're not even maintenance. No. So I apply that same principle, not just in allotment, but in my work
and life.
In life, little and often, in everything is little and often. And I found that the more I do things little and often, sometimes more and often as well, but it started to enhance my life, and I started to feel better, feel happier. I can create more time, more routine. So yeah,
that's great.
What have you found? Like
great analogies here. No, totally. Look, so many different strands and threads that we can pull on there. But it's beautiful to know that how valuable it has been for you, and being able to apply it to the rest of life. Yoga's not even the asanas, right? It's a way of being, a way of life. So let's do the physical and mental part as well.
Yeah.
Right. What has that helped you in your life to achieve?
So the physical asana practice,
the physical growth you have experienced from doing yoga, the ability to put yourself into different positions. Why should one do that? Why is that important?
I think it makes you see life in a little bit of a different way, and see opportunities as well. So it allows you to grow and find that inner discipline, but the confidence. In fact, it gives you the confidence to achieve more. It gives you the positive mindset. I know it's a more of a keyword, buzzword at the moment, and I really feel like it's given me more positivity to achieve goals. So the goals that I've set for myself, the goals I've set for my family, and with my partner. So ultimately, I'd say the asana practice, but the physical growth itself by combining all of that together has allowed me to excel in areas and tap into opportunities that I wasn't aware of before.
Okay, interesting. Very nice to hear. Let's talk about you learned the sum total of your life. You've been doing the value of it, and you've also, when we were talking before, you're talking about like your family as well, right? Responsibility thereof, seeing the older generation doing yoga, and now you've got a young child as well. So it makes you want to live stronger, better, healthier, more fulfilling for the future generations as well. So let's talk about creating a yoga business. So you have a studio in Nottingham called Hot Yoga Nottingham. I've been there; it's amazing. Tell me, let's start at the beginning of that journey. So how did you? Because you were working full time, right?
Yes, so I was working for a company called 3M for 8 years. But I would say always from a very young age, see my parents working in their business. I've always had that inkling that I want to try something of my own, try to do something different as well. But the experiences of going to different youth groups gives you the sense of community. So I wanted to always bring community together.
Sure.
And then once I got married as well, it gave me I found a partner who was really, who had the love for bhakti, who had the love for devotional mantra, and to really understand the heart itself.
Wow.
So when I combined my thoughts of yoga and my partner's bhakti and devotional side, it really made us want to give even more back to the society.
Wow.
So, and my partner's family are also in business as well. So when you bring all of that together, it gave us the opportunity to try something different. And when I looked around in Nottingham, I could see there wasn't many yoga studios that were teaching yoga, I would say, in the right way. The proper way. And I thought, I don't want to really go to any of their classes. So why don't I create something ourselves and have a great team of people that understand why we're doing this? So
and that was your thought, in the up to this point?
I manifested this.
Okay,
it was a manifestation.
Nice.
Because I remember I had a pen and paper and I sat down and I drew the layout of the studio.
Wow.
I've still got the picture somewhere, and I was going through hurdles.
Let's talk about those.
The hurdles.
Setting up a business.
I found it
can't be easy.
No, I found it really difficult, because even though my family are in business and my in-laws are in business, there's only so much advice they can give in regards to this business, because they've never entered into the leisure industry.
Sure. And it must be challenging to do that, right? And to have a uniqueness to it.
Yeah, and just being married as well, 1 year, within the first year of getting married, and you know, having
A
to
paradigm shift.
really like trying to achieve something which you're passionate about. And it was just a passion. So
And you were funding this from your full-time job.
funding all this from full-time job and savings, and just again wanted to make the difference in the world. So you know, tried to work with the councils, found that really challenging because
This is from scratch, right?
All from
You don't know
scratch.
how to set up a yoga business.
no, nothing, no.
And
no
I can
idea.
imagine there's like health and protocol and
Yeah.
Okay.
Working full time,
Wow. Oh, yeah.
spending the evenings, you know, trying
Excellent.
1 or 2 hours all the time. I was working in the evenings to enhance my understanding of yoga, but then at the same time looking into the marketplace to see what other people are doing and how they're teaching, what kind of studios are being set up. Why do they always look like a gym environment? I wanted to create a space where there's greenery, where there's wood, where it looks earthy, where you're connected to the ground, connected to Mother Earth itself. And that's the type of design that I created, and that's what we brought into life as well through manifestation.
Excellent.
And then just making that difference.
And that earthiness, that authentic vibe. What's that? Where does that come from?
Why is that from important? Family. That comes from previous ancestors. It comes from travel. So, you know, go at home doing mantras, doing arti.
So that the culture has informed your
100%
integrity and authenticity for yoga itself.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. So, you know, going to India, going to mandirs and temples in India, seeing the way people live there, the colors, the vibrancy, the food. I wanted to bring all of those aspects back here.
Nice.
But again, being British Indian, I wanted to have the British aspect and also the Indian aspect. So understanding business was one element, but understanding how to create an authentic yoga studio was another element. But then also marketing to British audience was another aspect. So
and is the difficult part about that showing the value of the depth of yoga?
Yes.
To what it can really achieve for you.
Yeah. So in terms of mantra, in terms of having a base.
There's this lady in America who's got something called no Om yoga, right? And her whole philosophy is about, I want to do all these poses and stuff. I don't want to know the names of the asanas or the positions or the mantras, the colors. I don't do none of that stuff, right? How is that a stark difference to what you think is right or what yoga is or should be, and the philosophy you have had at Hot Yoga Nottingham?
It's a tough question because everybody's thoughts is different.
Okay.
Now, my thought and my practice and the way I want to teach my students, I want to incorporate all elements of yoga.
Okay.
I want to incorporate the history of yoga and guide them on that path. However, everybody comes at it from a different perspective. I'm happy. So, okay, when I first started the yoga studio, I was like, no, it has to be this way. It has to be authentic. Okay. It has to be. But then I thought, well, everybody's coming from it from a different angle. At least they're practicing. That's what I came to the conclusion. At least they're practicing.
Could they not be doing it wrong? Like you stretch wrong, you lift up dumbbells wrong, you're gonna hurt yourself.
So it depends again where they're learning from. If they're doing it just off YouTube, but then he's a qualified yoga teacher, and they want to focus on the physical aspect and they feel good from that. Yes, it's exercise, and you could say it's not your yoga because there's no.
Am I getting too lost in calling it yoga, not yoga? Am I being a bit precious about that?
I think so. Like, okay. I think.
Fair enough.
That's my personal opinion. I think at least they're practicing because they're starting from a physical perspective, and they could, with education, with the like-minded people around them over time, as they start to become more inquisitive. Why am I practicing this? Where's it come from?
And then get into the depths.
And then they get into the depths of it. And I've noticed that in my own studio, where we've had students from Nottingham Training University, come to the yoga studio, and as soon as they open the door, the first thing they say is, Anand, I'm going to get a six-pack. I'm going to look good. I'm going to burn 800 calories in this session. And you know,
fine.
which is again,
and if they come to you, they probably will.
Yeah, they come to certain classes and they will start to feel, wow, I feel strong.
But it's that little and often.
Little and often, yeah. So the more they come, we know that if they come around 8 to 10 times over the course of 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, that's somebody we can potentially convert onto a membership. So again, that's a little bit of the business angle.
Sure.
So to retain them for a longer period of time. But
for their own benefit.
For their own benefit as well, and take them on a great journey, right? We want to take them on a great journey to understand the depths and elements of yoga even more with the great teachers that we have on board. But they're coming at it from a physical perspective. But by the time they leave, but from the first class and they leave the first class within an hour, they're leaving from a spiritual perspective as well as just a physical.
Okay.
Because we are chanting mantra in the class. I'm saying Om, and I'm saying Om with pride, and I'm proud to chant that mantra. You know?
It sounds like you're a fantastic teacher. I wish and hope there are more fantastic teachers like you out there teaching the real meanings and messages of yoga for its depth.
But I'll say I'm still learning. I'm young. I'm still learning.
Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely. And, you know, always learning. And something new that we've started most recently is care in the care industry. We've started a care business. And ultimately, it's to support people. It's my journey, I would say, as a karma yogi, is to do the work. I'm here to do the work.
Excellent.
And you know, I've tried to define it in so many different ways. Like, what is the purpose of my life? But when I've come to the crunch, when it comes down to it, again, I ask my soul, why? My soul's guidance, and my soul's guiding me to help people.
Nice.
That's it.
And your contributions thereof, your life is more than you. It's the society around you, life at large. And so people would say, that's a lot of responsibility. And we've discussed this here before. What responsibility is your responding ability, your energy, your ability to respond to the needs of the world, and the skill and the character it requires to get to there, I would say are admirable. And the fact that the care home and everything is all awesome. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get into the rapid fire round. I don't know if you've heard this before, but I'll ask you a bunch of questions and we'll see how you do. What's the best piece of advice anyone has ever given you?
Tough question.
This is rapid fire.
Oh, rapid fire. I'll say little and often.
Little and often. Okay, of course. If you were stranded on a desert island and you could only take 3 items with you, what are they and why?
I don't know how many is in rapid. I'll take a picture of my son, picture of my wife, and a scripture.
A scripture. Okay. Do you have a favorite book?
I'll say I have favorite podcasts.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm listening to a lot more podcasts. I'll say Stephen Bartlett show at the moment.
Nice. And the Vicharamantam podcast.
Vicharamantam podcast always, yeah. Sustainable narratives.
What goes into your perfect breakfast smoothie?
Bananas.
Okay. Bus?
Bananas. Yeah, I love bananas. So it has to be bananas.
Right. If you had to fight a horse-sized chicken or 10 chicken-sized horses, which would you pick?
The first one. Just because it's bigger and I can just,
Fine. Do you have a favorite quote?
I've got a favorite. I've got quite a few quotes. I know it's not rapid now, but
no worries.
I'm gonna read this one just because it makes you understand life a little bit more. So something, this is quite recent. Don't let your food go cold watching another man's plate.
Wow.
Like, that for me is big.
That's good. I like that. Can you describe a moment in your life where your paradigm shifted?
My son's birth.
Okay. Amazing. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Change more lives.
Nice. What would you change?
Bring more happiness.
If you
people's lives, yeah.
Okay. If you became, say, prime minister or president or someone with great authority that could implement a law tomorrow, what would that be?
Law of truth.
Law of truth.
Yeah.
Oh, is the world ready for it? Is the world ready for truth? What does the term sustainability mean to you?
To live life in the most efficient way.
Efficient.
Mm.
What does dharma mean to you?
To listen to your soul.
Cool. I like it. Awesome. Have we got any more? I've got one. You might like this. I ask all my guests if they would like to make a commitment on the show that they would like to stick to. So is there, you're a very driven guy, but is there something in your life that you're not doing, you should be, or you've wanted to try next, or a commitment you'd like to make here? What would that be?
So I mentioned this right at the very start when I came in the room. I said, at the moment, I've had a lot of change in life with a son being born, routines changing, trying to find more routine. So a commitment I've made to myself is I can only learn from the best. So I've approached somebody who's online, and I'm going to be taking a journey to understand my physiological, psychological, and nutrition and body approach, not just for now, for a short period of time, but for a long period of time in my life, from the rest of my life. So there's going to be some big changes you're going to see even more now.
Okay, looking forward to seeing that stuff. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you for the rapid fire round. It's always nice to see and put my guests on a... But it's interesting though, right? Because you come up with answers immediately.
Mine were a bit slower than
it
was interesting. Yeah.
What we do in life is we sometimes overthink too much.
True.
Get into that. Go on? Let's get back into the sort of yoga side of things and the yoga business. Because you teach the classes too, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be quite integral to what you're teaching. How do you learn? So you said you learned from Swami Ramdev Ji.
Swami Ramdev as well. At the moment, I've got a coach who's based in LA and Utah City in America, and I'm learning daily. We've got different platforms to access the information and knowledge, and it's all about breath work. It's all about spinal work. It's all about decompression of the spine and how to create more space and ultimately freedom in the body. Because physical aspect of asana, I think, is important, especially in this day and age. Because how can you go so much into dhyana and all these other areas and how can you go into some of that when you're suffering in pain? People need to come out of pain first to feel more enlightened, right?
And then the rest of your life is more fulfilled.
Yeah.
If you've got pain in your body.
So let's focus on the physical part a little bit more now, understand it, and then enhance the quality of your life through breath work and all the other areas.
I've been following your stuff online, and you got into something called flowability.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something. So flowability is, again, I would say, is spinal work. So it's all to do with the spine. It's decompression of your spine, and it's understanding the blueprint of the body. As time has gone on, we've changed our blueprint.
Yeah, like we're sitting in chairs all the time.
We're sitting in chairs. People's hips are tight. Lower back is compressed.
Hip flexors are short.
Hamstrings are short, and hamstring pain. And then as we're getting older, it's hindering us doing enjoyable aspects of life. So how do we feel young at the age of 40? How do we feel young at the age of 50, 60, 70, 80?
Yeah.
And for me, it's understanding that formula. Yoga is an aspect, and I'm actively doing that as well. And I feel strong, I feel stable. However, the flowability aspect, again, I ultimately do believe it is yoga, but it's taught in a different way. It's taught with modern science, as well as there's a folder in there called yoga, and it breaks certain yoga postures down. I'm like, wow, I never thought of doing upward facing dog in that way. With my shoulder blades away from my spine to decompress my spine. Just practicing it felt incredible. So I'm bringing those principles, modern principles, and ancient principles together. Same way as I'm bringing British and the Indian together. I'm always trying to bring more into my life.
And that's, Karma Bhumi, you're here doing your good work. Excellent. You said ancient times there. Tell me a little bit about Patanjali and your experience there, because I've watched Swami Ramdev Ji come up at least in popularity. When he came down to Slough Mandir, we were there with him as well. I got to see. And when we went to Haridwar, I've been to Yogram. I met him there, and I took part in 1 week Yogram course. So I've got stories about that. But tell me your experiences.
So my experience is
Who is Swami Ramdev Ji?
so Swami Ramdev Ji, I'll say, is the modern yoga guru. You know, he's the most popular yoga teacher in the world. He's got the largest yoga institution in India at the moment, and he's on Asta TV channel as well.
Called Patanjali.
Patanjali Yoga. So I'm affiliated through that in the UK, and the national coordinator, Darshan Sohal, is based in the UK, Nottingham as well.
Yeah.
So I started my initial practice with Darshanji, and I did the Patanjali yoga course based in the UK as well. And then I have met Swami Ramdevji when he came to the UK once as well. So, you know, always trying to read more of his scriptures, sometimes spending time in front of the TV, watching the way he's teaching and the ailments that people have and why certain breathwork techniques are beneficial for them as well.
I want to get into breathwork in just a moment, but let's cover off Swami Ramdev Ji and his yoga institution is called Patanjali Yogi. Who is Patanjali?
Trust. So Patanjali is the individual who wrote the scriptures,
the Yoga Sutras.
Yoga Sutras, that's right. Patanjali Yoga Sutras.
Many years ago. And it's that philosophy that's been brought back. So what Swami Ramdev Ji is doing, and people
again, he's teaching it from a more authentic perspective.
So it's not like it's his yoga. He's just brought Patanjali's yoga back into the limelight for society. And you know, you can see across the world how successful that's been for people's health and vitality. And people will also slate him because of the money he's made with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right. Money is a great tool to be used.
He's not changed his character.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. So money is a great tool, and if anyone's listened to the Sustainable Narratives Conference that Vichara Manthan presented, there was an entire wealth vertical talking about what money is and how it can be used as a tool and how we as society use it. Money is not a bad word. People should. And if a business, whatever it's doing, can make money with integrity, and if it's helping people through yoga, then more of it.
Incredible.
And he's able to create Divya pharmacy out of that too.
Yeah.
With more Ayurvedic functions. Let's go. And you said that Swami Ramdev be focused on pranayam. Let's help our audience understand what pranayam is, what breathing techniques are, and why they would be useful.
Okay, so there's different types of breath work. So there's a Bhastrika pranayam, there's Anulam Vilam, there's Shitli, Shitkari. So Shitli and Shikari. Shitli is to cool the body, Shitkari is to heat the body. And then you've got Anulam Vilam, alternate nostril breathing. Something which I am doing actively on a daily basis is Bhastrika pranayam and active breathing. So Bhastrika pranayam, whereas I'm expanding the lower belly and I'm bringing it back in towards the spine. So I'm inhaling, expanding the lower belly, and I'm exhaling, the belly's coming back in.
All these different breathing techniques are different ways of manipulating the intake, outtake, and holding of energy. I was going to say oxygen.
Oxygen, yeah, and releasing carbon dioxide.
But the most efficient way of bringing it in, doing something with it in your body, and taking it out, and the effects it has on the body and the mind and the whole experience. Because for a lot of people, breathing is just
they don't think
in and
about
out.
It. It's unconscious.
It's unconscious. Yeah. But you're saying consciously breathing in particular ways with
certain areas of the body. You'll open up areas of the body. You'll open up the lungs more. You can breathe deeper into the lungs. You'll open your mind more. That's how I feel. It opens the mind, because if your breath is restrictive,
if this machinery is not operating
at 100%, then you're restrictive. But if you're inhaling deeper and you can hold it, and then you exhale, and you're engaging certain muscles within the body, you're again more active. You're more alert, you're more disciplined, you're more focused.
Your body is on it and happy.
You feel alive.
Healthy body, healthy mind too.
Yeah.
So things like depression and anxiety that we have in the world can be helped with.
Alleviated with that.
With decent yoga, proper
just
breath work.
Breath work. That's why I teach. I've got a class at the yoga studio which is breath work and stability.
Okay.
And we focus the class initially on breaking down certain muscle tissues around the hips and the glutes. And then we go into breath work. So we learn how to breathe into the back of the ribs, into the side of the ribs. We learn how to breathe into the lower belly, which is parasympathetic state of your nervous system, which is the rest and digest state of the body. So we teach them how to breathe into the belly how to expand the muscles around the belly, and how to let it all go and feel the belly come back in towards the spine. That's a form of relaxation. And then we move into active breathing, which is, like I mentioned, into the back of the ribs, into the side of the ribs, and then you exhale out your mouth to tighten the core.
Okay.
So
in depth, awesome. I was speaking to Ricky Warren, and he was telling me that when you have the oxygen in the body, that's when your nervous system is like active, firing.
Yeah.
But when you're able to exhale and leave the oxygen out, you can be at like a form of rest. And like he was trying to get me to stretch my hip flexors. We had a ball. I was lying down, like, put your whole weight on the ball. I'm like, it hurts. He's like, breathe out, like let it be. And then, you know, in a deep stretch and that aspect of things. So hopefully we'll get Ricky on soon. Angie, it's been fantastic to speak to you, learning about your journey and Hot Yoga Nottingham and the contributions you'll make and how yoga's helped you grow and learn and be. Is there some words of wisdom, some passing advice, something to our listeners to go away to think about when they think about yoga, or even if they think about trying to do a yoga business? Have you got some tips to share from a yogi?
I would say, firstly, little and often, start somewhere. Start attending a class. See how that makes you feel. You know, if you do have pain within the body, try attend a yoga class. Speak to the teacher. Understand their background, where what they've learned, where they've come from, and why they feel confident to teach in that manner.
So just want to dive on that very quickly. It's important who we learn from, where they're qualified from, because you said, I didn't even touch on this earlier, qualified from and accredited from.
Yeah.
How do we keep that authentic in the UK? How does one is that?
So in the UK and America, everything is based on Yoga Alliance. But who's to say that they are the biggest body?
Right.
Because if you want to teach in a yoga studio, if you want to teach in a gym, they will ask for a qualification that's accredited by Yoga Alliance.
And are they doing all the depth and the prana and the asana?
So if you want to become a yoga teacher, you can do a 200-hour yoga course.
Okay.
And in the 200-hour yoga course, I personally don't believe you can attain as much knowledge around anatomy, around philosophy, as you should. There's not enough detail that's been provided.
Wow.
So it's the teachers who then go away
and do more. Okay.
That's
because you see like 400 hours and 1600 hours, and people are like counting it. That's odd to me,
but then you think, okay, Patanjali, Swami Ramdevji,
that's lifelong work.
He doesn't have a Yoga Alliance certification. Sadhguru doesn't have a Yoga Alliance certification, but that authentic knowledge is there. It's wisdom. The wisdom is there.
But it's probably in your best benefits, in at least
for us
to operate, to go and get that
at the moment. Yeah,
but
for
build
us
upon it.
Yeah, because we in the West, in a way we have to abide by that
sure.
law as well.
And we're living here, and we should contribute to this.
But when I take teachers on, that's something that we do look for.
You go into more detail.
And yeah, we want to provide them with greater source of knowledge, but then also find out from them their personality, their character, and give them an opportunity as well. They can see we've got mantra on the wall, we've got Shiva on the wall, we've got Himalayas on the wall. It's the feeling, it's the ambience, it's the atmosphere we're trying to create.
Nice.
And that's something that they go away and then they go and do more research and reading as well.
Excellent. For someone listening at home today who doesn't do yoga, not sure about it, hasn't thought it's got the books, done a couple of classes, what would you say to them? What's your calling?
I'd say attend a yoga class. Go to somebody that you feel connected to and see how that makes you feel. And don't stop just with one teacher. Go and see different teachers and pick up different elements from all and try and see how that makes your soul feel.
That could be quite difficult for someone who can't find the time or commitment to go. And is there some earlier steps one could take? It's a journey for all.
It's a journey for all, but I would say
go to
a class. But if you haven't got time, then maybe listen to a podcast or sit by yourself
and understand yoga.
Close your eyes and see what thoughts arise, and when the thoughts start to leave, then how does it make you feel?
Get into that meditative state. Become that yogi, the Adi yogi.
You've got to do something.
Yes,
you got to do something.
Yeah, change will come. Excellent. Listen, Anand, thank you so much for coming on to the Vichara Manthan podcast. I've had a fantastic time listening to you and explore this much further. I, for one, am making a commitment to do more yoga in my life and the depth of it, the mantras, the asanas, the dhyan, explore as many aspects as possible. It's been great to have you on here. So, Anand, thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate coming on this show and learning from you at the same time, and also sharing my experience of life as well.
Thank you, Anand. And to everyone listening at home, please do tune in to more episodes of the Vichara Manthan podcast. Like I said, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, your favorite streaming platform, and have a look at some of the other great work Vichara Manthan is doing. There are book clubs, there are fireside conversations, there are panel discussions talking about the most prevalent ideas of our time. Are we living in a sustainable times? Have you looked at Sustainable Narratives Conference? This was the Vichara Manthan podcast. My name is Sumit Sharma. Thank you for listening. Namaste.